Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. This is Mohammed from the Coffee House office, and today I want to talk to you about how to get your first remote job. It doesn't matter if this is the first job you're trying to get or you have many years of experience, getting a remote job can be possible with the tips that we're going to discuss in this video. So first of all, let's talk about what is a remote job. A lot of people confuse that with freelancing or making money online, like getting rich scheme, which most of the time isn't true. Working remotely basically can be any job that doesn't require you to be in a location physically. So you could be a remote accountant, a remote marketer, a remote developer, a remote teacher. Any job basically can be done remotely as long as it doesn't require you to be physically present in one location. And remote work is not necessarily, having your own business or just freelancing or, doing different gigs. It could take the form of different contractual type of arrangements, but it can also be a full-time job that you do with any company from any location. There's so many benefits for working remotely. The first one is obviously not having to commute to work and finding parking and moving from place to place. When you're working from home, you're saving a lot of time and really focusing on productivity and minimizing distractions and noise. It really improves your work-life balance. Also, you can spend more time with your family, with your friends, and doing the activities that you like because you can structure your day in a much more flexible way. At the same time, it's also more cost-effective for the companies who are hiring you and for yourself, right? Less money spent on gas, on parking, on specific attire for the office, on coffee and lunches, so it is a lot more cost effective for you. The drawbacks on the other side, they can include feeling isolated, having to motivate yourself and kind of manage yourself on a daily basis, but in my opinion, the benefits outweigh the costs a lot. So let's talk about the tips that will help you get your very first remote job. The first one is showcasing your skills that are relevant for remote work. When you're working from home and at your own location, there is a lot of self-discipline and self-management to show because there's no one really kind of managing you and prioritizing your schedule and moving things around for you. You really have to kind of motivate yourself and manage your workload and prioritize things based on your own judgment and decisions. The second thing is time management. You're not necessarily working a typical 9-to-5 job. When you're working remotely, hours can vary a lot. And sometimes there's more work, sometimes there's less work. So you really have to be very skilled in time management, and that's something that you have to show. The third thing that we're going to talk about is proactivity. Remote work is a bit challenging for certain people because typically it's not a list of tasks that you have to do. There's a lot of proactive approach to creating new projects and tasks, initiating things, finding problems, presenting solutions, brainstorming ideas, proposing new ways of doing things. So that sense of proactivity is very, very useful for a remote worker. And last but not least is being result focused. Obviously, being remote and in a different location from your manager means that you really have to be putting in a little bit of extra effort to show the output and the quality of your work and measuring the results so you can actually showcase how talented you are as a remote worker. Tip number 2 is to rewrite your resume in a way that highlights your ability to work from anywhere, at any time, and really structuring your own work style. And what I mean by that is the following. First of all, make sure that you follow this formula. Accomplished X as measured by Y by doing Z. And that really can vary. Look at these words, you can switch them out, you can rephrase it, but it's really important in your resume to showcase accomplishments or outputs or results and how were they accomplished and how were they measured and tracked. These are very important metrics and they show to the potential employer that you are actually very data-driven and you have results that you're held accountable for. You're very kind of independent in your work, you're always measuring your impact, and that can mean that you are very comfortable as an independent remote worker. The second thing is to show flexibility and versatility. And what that means is kind of try to draw examples where you had to switch your role or switch between different kinds of projects that require different skills, or you had to maybe sometimes relocate a new city or even a new department within your company. This sense of flexibility and your ability to adapt really well also shows that you are very comfortable in this sometimes ambiguous setting when you're working remotely. And the third tip for your resume is to avoid jargon and weird lingo that might not be understood by companies who are hiring you from different parts of the world and different industries also. So make sure your resume is not very specific to a location or specific to an industry, and avoid these words that not everyone will probably understand. The next tip is to use LinkedIn to your advantage. Obviously, LinkedIn is one of the biggest networks for jobs and career development in the world. At the time, LinkedIn doesn't have a remote job filter yet. This might be coming soon, but there are easy ways to actually find remote jobs on LinkedIn. The first thing is you can head over to Google and do a simple search for companies that are hiring remotely. This will give you the names of the companies that typically hire remotely, even if they don't have vacancies at the moment. And then what you can do is you can take that information, go to LinkedIn, follow these companies that interest you, and make sure that you're staying up to date on their information, their news and updates, and identify potential maybe networking opportunities with people who have similar interests or job roles as you do. The second thing that you can do is you can just type remote in the job search. That will actually, include jobs that have remote as a keyword in the listings, even if the job itself isn't necessarily pinned to a remote location, because again, that's not an option yet on LinkedIn. But you can actually do that, and that will give you tons of remote jobs all around the world. The second thing that you need to do on LinkedIn is to really study the job description and the keywords that are included there. And the reason I say that is remote work could mean different things in different companies. Sometimes it's a hybrid setting where you have to work from the office certain days and from home certain days. Sometimes it's fully flexible and you can work however you want, whenever you want, wherever you are. So it could mean different things. And the job description and the way it's written can really, kind of make or break your chances of getting the job. So to the extent that you can analyze the job description of remote jobs and see how closely it kind of resembles your profile and your resume and the skills that we talked about earlier, that can really boost your chance of being viewed and being interviewed for the position that you're interested in. And the last thing is to apply for jobs that interest you, even if they're not listed as remote. Now, this can be a little bit surprising, right? Because if you see a job that's based in London, let's say, you might think that you don't have a chance because you're not based there. But actually, remote job is increasing by the minute. And that means more and more and more companies all around the world are willing to switch to a remote setting, especially because of certain talent shortages in certain locations. So what you can do is actually go ahead and apply for jobs that interest you and move on with the process. And there are many companies that will help your employer be able to hire you remotely, even if they don't have the legal and HR expertise to hire you remotely. There are many companies like Oyster HR that can actually help you handle the entire process. So even if the job doesn't say remotely explicitly, you can still have a chance of being hired remotely. The last step that we want to talk about is applying to job boards that are specific for remote jobs. And unfortunately, many of these job boards aren't known to everyone, and there's a huge opportunity there to actually find jobs that are purely for remote workers, which means that the company is fully ready to hire you remotely. They're very interested to work with you regardless to your location, and that's actually how they've built their teams. They might have teams that are fully distributed around the world. So very important to keep in mind that there are job boards dedicated specifically for remote work, including Workew, Skip the Drive, Working Nomads, JustRemote, Remotive, AngelList. There's a huge list that I'll put it down in the description box for you guys, and make sure that you check it out and follow the tips that we've talked about so far today. That's all, everyone. These are the tips that I have for you today to get your first remote job. I hope you find these useful. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and a subscribe, and more videos will be coming your way to help you navigate remote work, career development, working and traveling, and a lot more. Thanks.